towards the material, and then the directress has to observe the child, which child is on which level according to the age, according to the ability, and then give the presentation. So whenever you have to present anything, first we have to isolate that material. When the presentation is given, it should be on a clear place. So when you select the material, you select the place also in your mind. That I will do this on the table, and out of all the tables you select the table on which table you want to do. It should be clean. It should not have anything extra. And only the material which has to be presented, that will be taken to that table. The technique of the method, that we have to select the material according to the age and ability of the child, clear the place where you have to work, and then you take the child to the place of the material after taking his consent. We always ask the child, do you want to do this exercise? In the Montessori system, consent is very important. And the aim behind it is that child is mentally prepared for that activity. You take your own example also. You're doing something, even if you're not physically doing something, you are thinking about something, and somebody comes and asks you, do this. So what happens? You have to prepare yourself mentally for that activity. But if somebody will take your consent, then would you like to do this? Then you are mentally ready by the time you accept the child. The child is brought to the place of the presentation, to the material. Children are very eager to hold everything, touch everything. So if the child wants to hold the material, let the child hold the material and bring to the table of presentation. You will present in a way where there is concentration for the child. Only the material and the child and you. You will show the proper working. Technique is the proper working, how you will deal with that. Because the material is there, but if we do not know how to use it properly, it is useless. If the presentation is not given correctly, child may misuse it. So it is important that the child should be given the proper way of dealing with things, proper handling, and then he will be able to get the benefit from that. So the child who is now doing the exercise has to watch the directress very carefully. When you bring the material, you seat the child in a place from where the child can see you. And when the child can see you, start your presentation. You're working. When the directress is working, it is presentation. So you will work in such a way that the child can watch you clearly and he will be able to grasp that. For that we have to be very slow and very precise. Do not do in a hurried and quick manner. Because after that, child has to repeat. And if he does not understand, you also will notice in your daily life that if you miss out any one step of a recipe or a technique, then the next step becomes a little difficult. So for the child, you have to go at his pace. Child will understand better if things are according to his size, his pace, his age, and then he will be able to work in a proper way. So the presentation is there, done by the directress. Now allow the child to work. After giving the presentation, we always invite the child. Do you want to do this exercise? And when the child is allowed, let the child work with it in a proper way. Watch that the child is not misusing the material. Working should be precise and it should be done exactly. But at sometimes child cannot follow exactly. Why? There are reasons for that. One thing is that child is young, he is doing for the first time, so there will be some mistakes. Do not expect perfection from the child. Child will keep on trying and he will get the proper way of doing it. The example given here is of cylinder blocks. That the child will try, if it does not fit, then child will try again and until he can achieve his success by putting all the cylinders in the right sockets. But there is another aspect of not doing properly. It is misuse of material or when the child starts playing with the material. And the example again is given of the cylinder blocks. It's a long block. The block is long, and sometimes the children just drag it and they pull it. And the example given by Maria Montessori is that they use it like a wheelbarrow. So that should not be done. The directress should stop the child from that. And here, again and again, Maria Montessori mentions that if you allow the child to misuse, it will not help the child in any way. It will only increase the difficulties in further assessment. He will spoil the material, he will not gain any knowledge out of it, it will be useless activity, and it will destroy the inner understanding and confidence for that child. He will just waste his time. And then sometimes in groups, others also start doing the same thing. One child is doing, others will follow the same thing. And Maria Montessori has given various examples of how the child is misusing the material. For the color tablets, they are putting them in long rows, making trains, or they are putting them to form little houses. Put two on the side and on the top, it will make a little house. And of the dressing frames, she has given the example that they open the frames and wear them round their necks. Those who have worked, they might have seen. Children often do this. But then the directress has to firmly stop the child. Not with anger, not with shouting, but explain to the child that this is not for this purpose, and again show the proper way of working. It is up to the directress how well the material is being used. The duty of the directress is not just to give presentation, but she has to see what is being followed afterwards. It has to be done in a proper way. So this was the initiation of the material, the first stage, the presentation, the exercise that the child is repeating. Then comes the working, and then comes the round stairs, which are equal in size to the cubes of the pink tower. And at times children are working to compare the brown stairs and the pink tower. So that has not to be stopped because it is a creative work. The child is mentally assessing the difference. For that, encourage the child to work in a positive way. It is not called as a misuse of material. It is a comparison. It is a mental work. So the directress has to be very clear and precise in what is the mental ability of the child, what work he is doing, and is it with understanding or not. Because at every stage, she is guiding the child. She is acting like a guide. And the example she gives here is that there is a piano. If you press the keys, you will hear the sounds. Anybody who runs their fingers on the piano keys will hear a lot of sounds. Musical notes. And by practice you will get some sort of tune also yourself. But just as a proper teacher is needed to train the fingers for some special tunes, and child should be able to read the music notes from the paper and transfer them onto the keys, same way that directress is needed by the child. The piano is compared to the material, the directress to the instructor of the music, and the child is of course the student. So for anything, proper guidance, proper way of handling the things, utilizing the things is important. Once the child can do it by himself, then you allow the child to practice. But first the child needs a lot of supervision, a lot of guidance, and the directress' job is first to give the presentation, then to observe the child. In the beginning, the directress is very busy giving presentations, settling down the children, but then comes a time when the directress becomes the observer of the environment. Children are working with interest in their own work, they are working at their level, they are selecting their exercises, and the directress just has to observe how much the child is doing, how well he is doing. Is he ready for the next stage? Because certain exercises have different secondary exercises. While with one material we do the first step, the second step and so on. So for that the directress has to observe the child. Same way with the material, first we give the solid forms, then we give the flat shapes as in geometry cabinet. The shapes are introduced to the child and child will by his own judgment put them in the right sockets. If you have worked with the geometry cabinet, you take out the shapes and the example given is of square and rectangle. For some of the rectangles the difference is very little and child has to try it out. But with little effort he will get it into the right socket. So the directress should have patience, she should observe the working of the child and then the child will slowly and gradually gain independence, he will work with it and he will be able to utilize the material to the full benefit. So the directress is not only the one to give the presentations, she is a guide, she is dealing with things as is required and she will help the child on the road of progress by giving guidance at the right time. So the technique of the lesson is basically that the child should be given the material in a proper presentation. He should be allowed to work as much as he wants to. Do not force the child into doing any activity. Do not force the child to repeat. He will work according to his own inner urge. When he feels satisfied, he will put the material away. And then when the child is worked well with the material, he knows the material well, then we give the language through the 3-period lesson. Once the language is also given, then the child will be working independently and he will be ready for the next exercise. So this was the technique of the Montessori system of giving lessons. By Ma'am Nadia Salahuddin, the mechanism of writing. She will tell you how we introduce writing in the Montessori system.
Assalamu alaikum to all of you. The topic of today for me is the mechanism of writing. And the writing is a complex art of 2 dimensions, you can say. First is the motor mechanisms and second is the real work of intelligence. Right? You all agree? One is how you hold the tool for writing and second is what intellectual thoughts you will bring on the paper through that instrument of writing. The manipulation of the instrument of writing is holding of the pen or pencil through which the child writes. Okay? And it is, pen or pencil is held with the thumb and the 2 fingers. Isn't it? This is how we hold the instrument of writing. Now, how to prepare the child to hold the instrument of writing is very important, isn't it? You see, there are many people in the world and we all know that there are 26 alphabets. When we join them together, we make words, we write on the paper, but every person's writing is different from the other. Isn't it? This is a universal fact. And why it is different? Because every person puts the symbols on the paper according to his own intelligence, according to his or her own firmness used for writing. Isn't it? So there are as many handwritings as many men are on the earth. Understand? The hand which writes. What is the organ of the body which holds the instrument for writing? It is the hand, right? And what does Dr. Maria Montessori says for the hand? Hands are the tools for intelligence. So the most important thing is preparation of the hand. And in the Montessori environment, we prepare the hand through different exercises. Right? The exercises which the child works under exercises of practical life and sensorial exercises plus language and maths and culture is there. First of all, when the child comes in a Montessori environment, we introduce the conversation and the news period and other oral subjects plus elementary and basic elementary and then higher elementary exercises of EPL. So all these exercises are indirectly preparing the child for hand. The control of the hand, the movement of the hand, the muscular grip of the hand. Isn't it? Holding of a tray, holding of a spoon, threading beads, pegging, sponging. What is all? The muscles are being prepared, right? So we are preparing indirectly for the hand to be firm enough to use and control anything which is given to the hand. Then in sensorial, we have cylinder blocks. We hold it with the thumb and the two fingers of the right hand. Then we have ping towel, rod strays, long rods. Directly they are for the visual sense and visual discrimination. But indirectly, when the child holds the biggest cube and the smallest cube, the expansion and contraction of the hand is giving an indirect preparation for writing. The muscles are contracting and expanding and giving the firmness to the hand for the future writing exercises which the child will do. And then we have language exercises which are directly for the reading and writing. Isn't it? Okay. Then the next is, there are 3 sensations which take part for writing. First is visual, second is tactile, and the third is muscular. Right? When we talk about the visual sensation, the child sees the alphabet. Right? When we are introducing symbols for the first time through sandpaper letters. Right? Before introduction of sandpaper letters, we are doing everything orally. Like I Spy game, news period, question game, library corner, conversation. These all are pre-reading games, but indirectly preparing the child for writing, as these exercises are developing his intellect. Isn't it? The words, the sentences, the vocabulary, the knowledge which we are giving through these pre-reading exercises are indirectly preparing the child for the writing which he will do in future. Understand? And when first time he sees the graphic symbols through sandpaper letters, his visual sensation is working over there. He sees the different shapes, tactile sense is working. 2 sensations are done. Then we come to the muscular sensation. The lightness of touch. You see, the sandpaper is a rough substance. If the child traces it with a pressure, it might get disturbed. The child knowledge, nobody can be a scholar. So reading and writing, they go together. Now when the time comes when the child is, the explosion of writing comes. When he is physically prepared and when he is mentally prepared. Physical preparation is done, as I said earlier, through EPL and sensorial exercises, and mental preparation is done through the pre-reading and pre-writing exercises plus the writing and reading exercises. At that time, the explosion for writing comes. And when the child writes for the first time, I'm sure you all know which is the first writing exercise in a Montessori system? Metal insets. Tracing is writing without writing. Right? The child is making the formation, he is saying the sound, but in actual he is not writing. So Dr. Maria Montessori says writing without writing. But actually the child holds the pencils and he makes the shapes first time through metal insets. And Dr. Maria Montessori has given a very detailed explanation that why and how she designed the metal insets. Because the preparation is done before giving the pencil to the child. So the frame and the insets are given to the child. So he restricts himself. He coordinates his movement. His tactile and muscular sensations are working at that time when he starts working with the metal.